So, welcome everybody to listen to panel discussion about educational values of videos. We have four panelists here to talk with us today, and we shall talk about the uh, criteria that are actually documented already on Educational Video Challenge Edit website. So we're just going to talk through those same assessment criteria that we have already posted on the website. So the first thing is the educational value and the aim of the video should be clearly defined. Who's the learner? Does the video have a clear target group? At what point of the learning process is video intended to be used at? And what is the intended learning outcome of learning activity triggered by the video? What advice would you guys give to a student or a group of students who's thinking about defining the learner, defining the target group? What kind of advice would you tell the students? Who would like to comment? Christian, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Good. I think that, especially if I look back to the videos from the last years, there were some videos that kind of got lost maybe a little bit in the field of that criteria because they just did not think on anybody. I had the feeling sometimes who would be the person to watch it. Yeah. So they were too much focused on their creativity, which is great. Yeah. And the fun they had making the video, but they kind of lost a little bit the other side, yeah, to put it that way. So I think for the groups, I would give the advice that during their planning, yeah, especially in the beginning, I think it's very important while they are making the script that they always have in mind who do we want to address, who will be the person who should learn something with that video, because that goes into language, that goes into speed, that goes into the picture design, into everything. Yeah.
Yeah, very good point. Anybody? Yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
Do you hear me? Okay, good. I agree with Christian, and what I would like to add is that they should really think about who's the learner first, because like Christian said, that sets the tone to everything. And what I think people have to keep in mind that the learner can also be themselves. So it can be a learner, it can be that the video is made for somebody else, but it can also be that it's for the person itself, just documenting what they learned. But they have to make this clear in the video.
That's true. We have had a few examples where the video has actually been a learning experience of a student who is on the video talking about his or her own learning, but the maker of the video didn't necessarily specify that this is a video I made as a school project for my teacher and for teacher to assess my own learning. So of course, us as a jury members, we would have to know that, okay, it's not meant for larger audience. This is not for children. It's about the maker's own learning experience, and he or she has documented her own learning in the format of video. So it will totally change the aspect of who the target audience is. It might be the target audience of one or just a few people. Well, how about, do you think there are some things where it's just a general video, it's just about an issue and there is no clear target audience? Can that happen? That it's just a general video about something and still has very good educational value? Christian.
I think we had a winner last year, which actually did that. I think Alex Hodgson's film about poverty was kind of addressing a general issue. It didn't really, from my point of view, it didn't really have a kind of, it was more a documentary about the general issue, but still you could learn. Yeah. So I think that's all right. But maybe we should, as this is for the students as well, if you do such a special thing, which goes a little bit away from a normal tutorial and kind of, what's these things in English? I don't know. Anführungszeichen. If you if you do that, yeah, then you should mention it in the submission form to make it easier for the jury not to find out first, yeah, that you kind of, I think it's all right. From my side, I'd say it's all right, yeah, because it's still a video you can learn something from. Of course, we are a little bit, it's a little bit hard maybe to say for the jury or for us or for everybody, where do we draw the line? How far does an educational video go? Because any documentary has, of course, an educational value. Yeah, would we accept that? I don't know. What do you think?
If the maker has defined it, maybe it's a documentary type of project about a particular issue, and he or she can express how important it is to raise perhaps awareness about the issue. Then, as long as the maker has defined it and knows, and that's the intention, then of course it's good enough for us. Then of course we had situations where target group or the target of learning has been very specific. Maybe it's from a particular national curriculum, like very clear that this is first year intended learning outcome in the curriculum in some country, and it can be really specified. And then of course the issue is that, okay, we might not be experts of that topic, but nevertheless, it's really important for us that that's the aim. That's what you're going for. It's not for the large audience. It's not for anybody. It might have certain cultural or curriculum specific ideas there. And I guess we hope that they are correct. And at least we have jury members from each participating country, and hopefully we will get an idea that whether the things inside video are actually correct concerning that very particular target area. Yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
What I would like to say is that the points we made clear on the website, I think they give a good idea of what we mean by that. I would give the advice to the students just to try to keep on with that. Like if they really, like what we discussed with the documentary, if they say, we have this question, what's the intended learning outcome or learning activity triggered? And you can make this clear if you make a documentary or if you make a tutorial or if you make a reflection of yourself. So I would give the advice to the students just to keep to the questions and try to answer the questions as specific and as clearly as they can. And if they do this, they help the jury a lot, and I think they will make the educational value clear.
Then the next question would be that explaining the learning process. We have sometimes seen videos that kind of try to be self-contained, that they try to explain everything about it. And of course, that's not what you have to do necessarily. Sometimes video is just a small piece of information or a small part of the whole learning process. So what do the students need to know about explaining the whole learning process, where video might just have a small role, maybe in the end, maybe in the beginning, maybe in the middle? So how would you advise students to consider that, how to understand the role of the video as a part of longer learning process? Any comments? Well, one idea that we have used is the word trigger, that the video can be trigger, that it's not meant to explain the whole thing. Maybe it's just a trigger for some other learning activity. That the makers have to be aware that the video is meant to raise a question, but not answer the question. And maybe you want to explain that after viewing the video, you want people to engage a question or an activity based on what reactions they got from the video. But of course, as a jury member, if it's not explained, we don't necessarily know if it's not in the explanation or if it's not in the graphics of the video. sometimes you understand it quite clearly that, okay, it's not self-contained and it's a part of a longer learning process. But quite often students haven't necessarily thought out the whole process. Where does this video fit in the whole learning process? Maybe sometimes it's as simple things as saying it's in the beginning or it's the final project or in the middle. Maybe you have to understand the timeline. All right. If there are no more comments about that, let's talk a few words about pedagogical idea of the video and is it explained clearly? In the past years, I've even raised the question that do the students understand the word pedagogy in a similar way? But what is the pedagogy of the video? Do you think there might be some confusion or distraction there? Is the term easy to understand? What is the pedagogy of the video? Do we need to explain it more?
Yes, why? What is the reason why you use this word pedagogical, and why it does not exist as idea only?
Yeah, that's true. So if a video is just an idea, what makes it a pedagogical video?
Pedagogical
Rebecca, go ahead.
or educational?
Yeah. Yeah, Rebecca, you can continue.
Why we said pedagogical and not just idea. The idea of the video can just be maybe creativity, like Christian said, or the idea of the video can just be having fun. And then it's a nice video, but it doesn't have any educational value. So we put pedagogical idea together so to make clear that this video has to have an educational value, and this has to show up in the video, because what we discussed on the first point, this is something that students can also just make clear in the submission form. But for this point is it has to be clear in the video what is the aim.
Yeah, Christian.
I'd like to refer to our last year's second prize. Maybe students who would like to watch that, I think they could understand what we mean, because they actually interrupt the story by explanation. The whole thing could also be a kind of pedagogical video without doing that, but then learning through it would be far more difficult. Yeah, they could just mention it maybe or in a quick sentence or so, but they kind of left the story, went into an explanation and came back to the story again. I think that's a very important thing in a real pedagogical video. Yeah, that you really kind of go into an explanation phase in the video and include it in your storyboard.
And I think that's a very good advice for anybody who's participating. The Edit Challenge is to go and look for previous year's submissions. Look other videos that actually have explained the pedagogical or educational aspects of the videos clearly. They shouldn't leave viewers guessing. So if you're guessing what's the educational part of this and how is this pedagogical, then it clearly isn't defined that well. But if it's actually explained either in the video or in the text describing the video, and if you can easily get a clear idea what's the educational goal or what's the pedagogical purpose of the video, then I think it's a very good idea to take a look at those good examples we found.
I'm asking if this criterion, the pedagogical aim, if it is clearly visible in the video, is a little bit similar with what is the intended learning outcome. The first one, the intended learning outcome, it is related on the purpose okay, of the video. For me, the second one, the educational aim or the pedagogical idea is related with or to issues all round to pedagogic education. Issues in general like refugee or something else. It is not exactly a subject of learning, but it is related with issues which are important for education. So the first one, the intended learning outcome, it is like a didactic aims, and the second one is how closely it is related to pedagogical issues and relevant to education generally. So I can understand these two criteria. Yes.
Yeah, they are certainly very close to each other, and hopefully they help the students to discuss these issues. Rebecca has a comment.
I think, yes, they're close, but there's one difference. The first one, what is the intended learning outcome? You can say, okay, the people should learn about maybe creativity, but the second one is, does the video really help in learning about creativity? And so this is just a point to check. You know, first you have to say, what do I want the people to learn, and then I check the video. Is this really clear to everybody? Because I can't just make a video and I'm thinking, okay, everybody has to learn about creativity, but if I watch it, then I see, okay, it's not clear, or like Christian said, I'm not going on a database just trying to explain why I'm doing this. So for me, this is the difference between these two. The first is like more theoretical, what do I want? And the second is, did I really manage to do what I want? Is it clear in the video?
Okay.
And since we are thinking as organizers, we think a particular target group. We're thinking teacher students mostly, right? So if they're engaging this sort of discussion that, I wonder what's the difference of learning outcome and pedagogical choice, I think it's very good discussion. If our edit challenge makes them go through this discussion as teacher students, we are happy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any more comments about educational value or pedagogical ideas? So let's talk a little bit about the length of the video and how that is aligned with the complexity of the content, and what can the video makers even claim that, okay, this video is teaching. And our I guess a little bit tongue in the cheek or silly example is that you probably wouldn't have a 22-second video teaching children about theories of nuclear physics. So that would be a crazy idea. That wouldn't make any sense. But any other comments? Christian?
Yeah.
You're muted.
Now you can hear me. No, not anymore. Okay. There's a little delay when I try to unmute. I was just saying, if actually somebody manages to explain nuclear physics in 20 seconds, we definitely have a winner. Why not? That's the challenge. No, I'm just kidding, of course. I mean, I also think that this has to be considered in the script. I mean, there is a tendency anyway that people work too long. Yeah, so I don't actually think that we have to be worried too much about the ones who work too short. Yeah, like if I have the idea, and I could do that maybe even for the edit to explain nuclear physics. I could, for the edit, I would have actually a topic for the next coming 20 edits. No? I could do part 1 this year and part 2 next year. So, because we have this 4-minute limit. But I think to kind of that a decent advice to the students from my side as well to kind of try to do it as short as possible, because I think it's a sign of quality as well to really stay short. Yeah. So if I'd be a jury member, of course I don't know how the jury members will judge that, but for me that would also be a criteria I would have in my mind. Do students manage to really focus on the important thing? Because with learning videos, I think they so easily get boring. Yeah. So that's really a crucial point, to stay as short as possible, but still saying the essential stuff or telling the essential story.
Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole point of this point is that you have to stay focused, and that you have to see what really is possible in that time. Like with nuclear physics, if I'm trying to explain that, then I should say, okay, I cannot explain everything, but I will explain you this, and then just focus on that point. And that's what is meant in that with that criteria.
And again, if we give advice, what kind of examples could the students be looking for? I think it's very valuable to take a look at like a TV campaigns where the format is 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, and 1 minute 30 seconds. And you can, for example, have wonderful public awareness campaigns where they only have 45-second slots, and they're able to tell a story, they're able to affect you, influence your decisions, and it can be 45-second slots and still work as a story and visual storytelling and educational or very effective ways for the viewer. Yeah, certainly students shouldn't be aiming at 3 minutes and 59 seconds. So, we have quite briefly discussed the criteria of educational value. Any other general comments about this? Go ahead, Christian, if you have.
Yeah. Well, just one more, because we had so many. If I look at the past years, yeah, everybody knows it's educational videos, but so many groups seem to forget when they're actually producing. So we had so many good videos in the past years which kind of lost the track on the educational value. So I really would like to stress that one more time. Please, students, that is very, very important. Yeah, don't lose it in your filmmaking enthusiasm, which the enthusiasm is great, but this is an educational video festival, not a normal video festival.
And I think many students are producing the video during their school hours or while studying. So I'm guessing in most universities there is somebody to give them a feedback or maybe give a tip to which direction to go. So ask for feedback when you have your first draft or script written down. Maybe you can ask comment from your teacher, your professor, or maybe your peers to at least make a short checklist that can you understand the pedagogical idea that we have. So certainly you're allowed to ask for feedback. We're not going to make any creative decisions for you, but we can give pieces and bits of feedback.
I agree with you and with Christian, because also in Greece we have many festivals of educational films, but in the reality are generally films produced from teacher or and students, but they are not related with educational processes. It is a big problem, and in the Kremlin there are usually people of the cinema science, and they see the films in other way as we from the educational sector. That is the reason why I think the first criteria, especially this criterion what is the indeed learning outcome of learning actually actively targeted by the video, I think it is very, very important. And I think it were perhaps important to be as a field in the form which are wait a moment, this is a excuse me, I zoom. Now, yeah, I will say das in German, vielleicht Christian kann das oder die Rebecca kann das. Ich denke, vielleicht es wäre sehr wichtig, dass gewisse Kriterien auch in der Form auch vorhanden wären, die die Studenten auch vervollständigen, so dass es sehr deutlich ist, dass was ist das Ziel von diesem Video. Ich meine nicht alle Kriterien, aber einige. Also ein oder zwei.
I just translate in the meantime. Loisos is meaning that these questions should be a little bit more addressed, if I understand it correctly, in the submission form. That's a good input for us. We can think about that. Yeah, if we could add maybe, I've actually posted the respective submission form questions in the notes. So if we can have a look at that. So maybe we can, or the organizational team can discuss later if it's necessary to add something in there. I hope I understood you correctly, Loisos. If that was your point, we could maybe have a look at this too, because it's not, nobody has used it yet. So it's still possible to make it a little bit more precise. Maybe that's a good idea in the submission form.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca also has a comment.
Yes, I think so too. Just I was saying that the students really should look into the submission form, and this makes it clear that what they write in the submission form is really important for us, and we can see if we just split up what we have in one question, just like maybe 2 questions or something like that. But students should just look at the submission form and take this seriously, what we ask there, and just answer this correctly and as elaborate as possible.
And
Okay.
again, as our target group is teacher student, it's quite strange how many in the past years we have had to tell people that, did you read the instructions? And they said that we never read the instructions. So, but yes, there are instructions on the web page, and we will work on the submission form as well. So yes, we try to give as good instruction as possible, but it will only help if people read them. Christian, do you have another comment?
Well, I think that's a kind of a task to get people read instructions. I mean, I must even say that sometimes I don't. But yeah. But the submission form is already there, so students can have a look. And if we make an update, you will actually see it there. Yeah. So you can have a look what is asked. A big advice, maybe don't upload your video 5 minutes before midnight on the 26th, because then you don't have time for properly filling the submission form. So
we are clearly going into technicalities yet, which is the topic of the next discussion. So, and I also, Loisos made a good comment about these educational films. These are not like produced by advertisement agencies or film companies. So again, that will be a topic also for another discussion. What's the artistic quality? So I think we can wrap it up on behalf of this discussion, and I will press stop, and we will start talking about.
One more thing. Janne, one more thing. In our jury, it's not film experts. This is important for the students to know, I think. In our jury, it's educationalists. It's people who focus on the educational value.
Yeah, that's true. We, as organizers, we have to make sure that everybody in the jury also understands that we want to focus mostly on educational aspects. We want to look at other things as well, but the main part is the educational value. And the other aspects are the topics of the next discussions.